Picture this. It's October 30th, 2010. The World Series is heating up at Rangers Ballpark in Arlington, Texas. Out walks Nolan Ryan, the legendary Hall of Fame pitcher, now 63 years old and serving as the team president. He's here to throw out the ceremonial first pitch for Game 3. What happens next becomes one of baseball's most enduring digital legends, a story so compelling that millions believed it, even though it never actually happened. The legend goes like this. The 63-year-old Ryan, wearing street clothes and with virtually no warm-up, steps onto that mound and fires a blazing 86-mile-per-hour fastball to his former teammate, Evan "Pudge" Rodriguez. The crowd goes wild. The internet explodes. Here's proof that the Ryan Express never truly stopped running, that age is just a number, and that legends never die. It's an incredible story. It's also completely false. But before we dive into what really happened that night, and that requires understanding just who Nolan Ryan was and why his legend was so ripe for this kind of embellishment. Nolan Ryan wasn't just a good pitcher. He was a force of nature. For over 2 decades, he consistently threw pitches that regularly exceeded 100 miles per hour. In an era when most pitchers were lucky to hit the mid-90s, Ryan was routinely clocking triple digits. His fastball was so legendary that batters were genuinely afraid to step into the box against him. He struck out over 5,700 batters in his career, a record that still stands today and likely never will be broken. But what made Ryan truly special wasn't just his velocity, it was his longevity. Most power pitchers burn out quickly. The human arm simply isn't designed to repeatedly generate that kind of force. Yet Ryan pitched until he was 46 years old, and according to legend, was still throwing in the upper 90s in his final season. His last pitch in 1993, thrown after reportedly tearing a ligament in his elbow, was supposedly clocked at 98 miles per hour. These stories, whether completely accurate or slightly embellished, created a mythology around Ryan. He wasn't just a great pitcher, he was superhuman. He was the guy who seemed to defy the basic laws of human physiology. So when people heard that this same man, at age 63, had thrown an 86-mile-per-hour ceremonial pitch, it didn't sound impossible. It sounded like Nolan Ryan. But here's what actually happened on that October evening in 2010. Ryan took the mound, threw his ceremonial pitch to Pudge Rodriguez, and the crowd applauded politely. On the broadcast, veteran sportscaster Joe Buck matter-of-factly mentioned that the pitch had been clocked at 68 miles per hour. It was the same speed Ryan had thrown during a similar ceremonial pitch earlier that postseason. Respectable for a 63-year-old retiree, but hardly superhuman. So where did the 86-mile-per-hour figure come from? That's where this story gets really interesting, because it reveals something profound about how legends are created in the digital age. The number didn't come from any official measurement. It didn't come from the broadcast. It didn't come from radar guns or stadium displays. It came from online comment sections. Baseball fans, watching the pitch or hearing about it, began speculating about the velocity. Someone, somewhere, threw out the number 86. Maybe they misheard. Maybe they were joking. Maybe they just thought it sounded right for a Nolan Ryan story. But once that number was out there, it took on a life of its own. It spread across social media platforms, baseball forums, and discussion threads. Each time it was shared, it gained a little more credibility. People began citing it as fact, even though no one could point to an original source. Within a few years, you could even find eBay listings for ticket stubs from that game advertising an 85 mph pitch, turning the myth into a marketable commodity. The most remarkable part of this story is what happened next. Major media outlets, including ESPN, began reporting the 86-mile-per-hour figure as fact. They cited it as literal truth in articles and broadcasts. Think about that for a moment. Traditional media outlets, which are supposed to verify information before reporting it, this represents a complete reversal of how information used to flow. In the old days, a news outlet would report a verified fact and the public would accept it. But in 2010, the public created a fact through social media speculation, and traditional media then picked it up and gave it the stamp of official credibility. It's a feedback loop that allows myths to become accepted reality almost overnight. But why did this particular myth stick so well? The answer lies in psychology. People who already admired Nolan Ryan's extraordinary career were predisposed to believe something extraordinary about him. The idea of a 63-year-old legend still throwing smoke was simply more satisfying than the reality of a modest 68-mile-per-hour toss. It gave fans a new story to tell, a new piece of Ryan lore to add to his legend. The myth also played into larger cultural debates about baseball. Ryan was famously old school in his approach to pitching. He believed in high-pitch counts, long toss training, and pushing through pain, philosophies that directly contradicted the modern, analytics-driven approach to pitcher development and injury prevention. Ryan often criticized what he saw as the coddling of modern pitchers, arguing that his generation was tougher and more dedicated. In this context, the 86-mile-per-hour story became more than just a velocity claim. It became symbolic proof that Ryan's old-school methods were superior. Here was a man who, through sheer determination and proper training, could supposedly supposedly defy the basic laws of aging and biology. It was validation for everyone who believed that modern baseball had gone soft. But let's talk about those laws of biology for a moment, because they're pretty unforgiving. Scientific research on pitcher aging shows a clear and consistent pattern. Velocity peaks in the early 20s and then begins a steady, inevitable decline. On average, pitchers lose about 1 mile per hour of velocity by age 26, and the decline accelerates as they move into their 30s and beyond. This decline is driven by multiple factors. Injuries accumulate over time, creating a cascading effect of physical limitations. Lower body power, which is crucial for generating pitching velocity, naturally decreases with age. Lean muscle mass declines. The intricate coordination required to efficiently transfer energy from the legs through the torso and into the arm becomes less precise. While Nolan Ryan was undoubtedly a physical anomaly who extended his career far beyond normal limits, he wasn't immune to these biological realities. His exceptional longevity came from superior genetics, obsessive conditioning, and perhaps some luck with injuries. But it didn't make him capable of defying physics entirely. The conditions under which the 2010 ceremonial pitch was thrown make the 86-mile-per-hour claim even more implausible. Ryan was wearing street clothes, not a uniform designed for athletic movement. He had little to no warm-up time, unlike the extensive preparation routine that professional pitchers undergo before throwing at maximum velocity. The ceremonial nature of the event meant he wasn't trying to prove anything or set records. He was simply fulfilling a pleasant obligation. For a 63-year-old man to generate 86 miles per hour under these conditions would require him to be not just an outlier, but a complete exception to human physiology. It would mean that his body had somehow arrested the aging process entirely, that decades of retirement hadn't affected his physical capabilities, and that he could achieve elite athletic performance with minimal preparation. It's not just unlikely, it's essentially impossible. Yet the myth persists, and in some ways that persistence is more interesting than the original claim. The story of Nolan Ryan's 86-mile-per-hour ceremonial pitch has become a modern fable, similar to other baseball legends like Babe Ruth's called shot or the mythical velocities attributed to old-time pitchers like Walter Johnson. These stories aren't valued for their accuracy, they're valued for what they represent. The Ryan myth represents our desire to see our heroes transcend normal human limitations. It's a story about defying time, about legends who never truly fade away. In an era when we have precise measurements and video replay for everything, there's something appealing about a story that suggests some magic still exists in sports. This phenomenon isn't unique to baseball or even to sports. We see similar patterns across all forms of entertainment and celebrity culture. Urban legends about musicians, actors, and historical figures follow the same trajectory. They start with a kernel of truth, get amplified by passionate fans, spread through social media, and eventually become accepted as fact despite lacking verification. The difference is that sports provide measurable data points that should, in theory, make myths easier to debunk. What makes the Ryan story particularly fascinating is how it demonstrates the limits of the information age. We live in a time when virtually every sporting event is recorded from multiple angles, when statistics are tracked obsessively, and when fact-checking should be instantaneous. Yet a completely fabricated number managed not just to survive, but to thrive in this environment. It suggests that our hunger for compelling narratives is stronger than our commitment to verifiable truth. The real Nolan Ryan threw his ceremonial first pitch at 68 miles per hour on October 30th, 2010. It was caught by Ivan Rodriguez in front of a crowd that appreciated the moment for what it was, a nice tribute to a legendary player. The 86-mile-per-hour figure is a digital-age myth, born in comment sections and legitimized by our collective desire for extraordinary stories. But perhaps that's okay. Sometimes the legend serves a purpose that pure facts cannot. The myth of Ryan's impossible pitch connects us to our sense of wonder about human potential. It reminds us why we fell in love with sports in the first place, not for the statistics and measurements, but for those moments that seem to defy explanation. In the end, the truth is fascinating, but the legend is powerful. And in the case of Nolan Ryan, both the man and the myth he inspired, the two will forever be intertwined in baseball lore.